Well, this report is done by the Committee of Experts at the ILO, and the experts actually examined the Employment Relations Amendment Act of 2015, which the government claimed complied with the core conventions, which the government claimed that it fulfilled the government's obligation in relation to the core labor conventions. Now, the Committee of Experts have found that the amendment does not comply with the core conventions. And they have listed out 14 specific areas where the amendment needs amendment or a revision of the entire provisions. And they have recommended a whole series of sections and subsections of the Amendment Act to be reviewed once again. So the report itself, I think, makes clear that the Amendment Act is still not compliant. There's still much work to be done. And of course, that is what the FTUC has been saying all along, even before the amendment was passed in Parliament. And I think the report itself now clearly states that the FTUC was right in making those claims that the amendment wasn't sufficient. And what this means now is that the government is now going to relook at the Amendment Act and make further amendments to the Act to make sure that they comply. And like I've said, there's about 14 specific areas. And some of them include the inclusion of the E&I provisions in the Amendment Act, such as bargaining units, such as the essential industries, the definition of that, and the expansion of the essential industries within the ERP. I think there's many other areas which the experts have actually commented on, and it is for now government to act on this. And I think we no longer need to argue with government that the Amendment Act is not sufficient, it's non-compliant, and that government needs to get its act together and fix this mess up. Yes, I think there will have to be a lot of amendments done. And let me just say that, as I've said, it talks about the various provisions of the amendment, like I said, including the E&I provisions and the expanded list, the use of bargaining units to undermine trade unions, the nomination of the Arab board itself, the remedy for deregistration of unions that were deregistered under the E&I, collective agreements that were terminated by the E&I. All this needs to come in. The excessive discretionary powers that has been given to the Registrar of Trade Unions, the interference into trade union provisions by the Registrar himself, and also the provisions for compulsory arbitration, no public sector unions being classified as essential services. And the report also talks about the political parties decree, which bars trade unionists and any employee of trade unions to be members of political parties or participate in the political process. Now that's violation of freedom of association, and they've asked, and also similar provisions in the Fiji Constitution. So they've asked government that they need to revisit those areas and make amendments to that so that they comply. So these are serious violations, and I think it would do government good and Fiji good if government took heed of this report itself and worked on it. This report was released, I think, on the 11th of January, but was not given to us until, or the government refused to give this to us as the ILO had requested, and unfortunately we had to obtain copies from Geneva itself. Well, I think the timeline has been set by the governing body itself, and that is why we have the mission arriving next week in Fiji to look at the current situation. And of course, this report is now going to assist the mission greatly in identifying these areas. And of course, the timeline is the next governing body meeting, which is in March, and which is around mid of March. So, well, I think it's going to have a great impact on the deliberations of the mission itself. I think the mission will greatly be guided by what the report says, and I think it would really be up to government to really tell the mission what they intend to do about these violations and how they intend to remedy these violations. And I think we need we're determined to see that government simply does not make any further promises. We want to see some tangible results here. We want to see government act on these issues and not simply make promises that they will do this and that. And I think government has had sufficient time. You will recall that the Commission of Inquiry decision was deferred last March. So we're almost nearing a year since the deferment and the agreement signed, where government promised to make amendments and honor their obligations. And if they haven't done it in a year, I doubt if they'll do it in the month before the next meeting. So really the ball is in the government's court here.